Today's theme is indeed, I never use props. It's a little awkward and yet fun. Today's theme, just in case you're watching, not just listening. Today's theme is going to be all about celery juicing, right? And very specifically, the 28-day celery juice cleanse that Anthony William started. And, you know, I find it fascinating in that when I look at all of the questions that I receive, and, this has been going on for a couple of years. I think it was about 2 years ago that the whole celery juice thing uh, became wildly popular, right, internationally. All of those questions, I think, can be boiled down into this summary, if you will. Is there something to this, right? Is it yet another kooky, crazy health fad, or is this eternal healing wisdom for the ages? And I will do my best to not only answer that, but one of the things that really bugged me was when I first heard about this. I gotta tell you, I heard about it from a friend who I would characterize as he's not really interested in health and healing and well-being. He eats a standard American diet. Um, you know, kind of. I don't. I'm trying to be kind here, but when things like this start, usually colleagues and source energy medicine practitioners, right, the non-material aspect of source energy medicine, the energy healing component, like, some of our practitioners will ask me, did I know about it? What do I think about it? Things like that. And this first came from this person who I'm longtime friends with, who's not from within the source energy medicine community. So I thought it was odd. And I got to tell you, at first I completely discounted it as just another kooky, crazy, like insane health fad, maybe even something that's dangerous, because a lot of these health fads are. So when it first caught my attention, when I started getting questions and comments and curiosities from colleagues, from other integrative wellness professionals, I caught my attention, and I did some research. And I got to tell you, there are videos on YouTube that have, one that comes to mind has over 8 million views. And she tells you to put water in it to get it to taste better. And like, don't put water in it, right? If you watch, I get that a lot of the videos are intriguing because they're real people trying it on in real life, right? And I get there's value in that. But if you're going to do that and share it on YouTube, how about like reading Anthony Williams' books? How about watching his videos and learning how to do it right? And even if you're not going to go onto YouTube, one of the reasons why I'm going through this today is, 28 days, just time-wise, is a pretty big investment of time. It's a big commitment. It's something that's going to, when I have experimented with it, it changes my morning routine, right? There's no question about it. And there's a lot of do's and don'ts and things. So, I did my first liver cleanse probably in the very early 90s. And when I practiced nutrition in New York City, I coached a lot of groups, a lot of my clients, a lot of my coaching clients, either one-on-one or in groups through doing liver cleanses. An awful lot of people want to know, so within source energy medicine, of course, we can transform, balance, and restore the liver, every organ and function and system. So why in the world would I want to do a liver cleanse? And I think it's a brilliant question, right? The reality is, I'll take me, for example. I eat impeccably well, what I would characterize as impeccably well. Like 99.9% of the food that I eat is organic. Most of it is homemade. And yet, and I do all of the things that seem to make sense to help to support my health and well-being, right? So, source energy medicine does not replace eating well. And it certainly can change the way what happens in a liver cleanse. And yet, I live currently living for the last 15 years or so, been living in Colorado, in the foothills of Colorado. And there certainly is pollution from Denver, right? Whole lot better than the 20 years I lived in New York City, and a whole lot better than, growing up in New Jersey. And yet, you know, my point is, you could eat the cleanest diet on the planet, live in the most pristine environment, live in a home that is green built, right? It's not going to emit any VOCs, not drink alcohol or coffee or anything other than water and herbal teas, and yet you're still being exposed to toxins. And where do the toxins end up? In the liver. So I'm not so much going to compare and contrast doing a 28-day celery juice cleanse to what it would be like to explore source energy medicine long term. I'm intrigued by that, and yet that's the level of sophistication, a conversation that gets to a sophistication that it's tough here in this forum. It's much more appropriate for the folks that are in our online workshops who are working towards achieving mastery of source energy medicine. I hope that makes sense. So at minimum, what I want you to know, an awful lot of the questions are, will celery juicing interfere with source energy medicine and vice versa? And, the short answer is no, it can't. Doing a celery juice cleanse can only enhance your healing experience, right? A lot of the chronic conditions that we see today are due to a highly toxic liver, right? There are so many things that make their home in the liver, right? Viruses, unfriendly bacteria, parasites, toxic heavy metals, and on, chemicals. A lot of what you would consider, or what I would characterize as a residue, ends up in the liver. So even as clean a lifestyle as I live and have been eating what I would characterize as impeccably well for 20 plus years, I still think it's wise to cleanse my liver. Once, springtime is ideal, but I think I've been getting an awful lot of questions now because a lot of people choose sobriety for January, right? They do this dry January thing that has been going on the last few years. And I think in a lot of people's mind, if I'm going to stop drinking alcohol for a month, which on one hand is a great idea, right? It's absolutely a step in the right direction towards maybe taking a more serious look at alcohol and your relationship to it. But once I stop essentially poisoning my liver, killing my liver with alcohol, then I think a lot of people think, what else can I do? And I think a liver cleanse is brilliant, right? It's absolutely genius. And, I don't want to leave you in the dangle here. To answer that question, is there something to this or not? There absolutely is something to this. There is no question about it. And of all of the, now retrospectively speaking, cleanses that I've done, many of which I would characterize as totally insane, really high level of risk, and I think low in terms of benefit or reward, the 28-day celery juice cleanse is simple, it's easy, it's relatively safe unless you have a really, really highly toxic liver. And then the worst thing that can happen is you have a healing reaction, right? You have flu-like symptoms and you feel lousy for a few days. And that to me is exciting, right? Because then feeling energized and well on the other side of that is in your horizon, right? So a lot of people are kind of offended by the taste of celery juice. And Michio Kushi, who brought the macrobiotic diet to the United States, he described our taste buds as being perverted, and they get perverted by predominantly artificial sweeteners, right? There are, like, sugar's horrible and should be illegal, but there are artificial sweeteners that are literally thousands of times sweeter than sugar, which makes even sugar no longer seem sweet, which makes a carrot seem no longer sweet. So if you juice celery, which to me, it's definitely salty and it's definitely a bitter taste, right? but I think it's kind of pleasant at the same time, right? It tastes like I'm cleaning, and I have consumed things in the name of cleaning that I'd rather drink gasoline. And I wouldn't drink gasoline. I don't suggest drinking gasoline. But comparatively speaking, like wood root tonic, for example, I wouldn't drink gasoline, of course. I'm trying to make a point here. But wood root tonic makes the idea of drinking gasoline seem like a better option, right? So it's crazy. Celery juice, I get up at 5 o'clock in the morning and I'm having my celery juice shortly thereafter when I'm doing a 28-day cleanse, which I'm doing. I'm I don't know, maybe 7 days or so into it. The very first time I tried it, certainly an odd taste because I'm used to juicing dark leafy greens, and I'll put apple and ginger and lemon in there to make it just totally yummy and delicious. And with this, you don't want to add anything. And that's what not everyone, but an awful lot of these people on YouTube are doing. And I know there's a lot of people at home are doing it because some of my friends whose young adult children have done it, that they were doing that. They were putting lemon, they were adding water, they were putting apple. Don't do that. Like the miracles, literally the miracles that lie in celery has to do with what Anthony William describes as these cluster salts, right? They've yet to be identified by science. And literally the miracle is in these cluster salts. So if you add water, you're diluting and in some cases really impairing or destroying the cluster salts to the point where you're not going to get any beneficial gain from it, right? So there too, some of the videos that I watched on YouTube, these are people, I don't think they've ever eaten anything to support their health and well-being. And the reason why I say that is because if you have for any length of time, you've eaten some nasty stuff, right? There's all in the sake of health. There's no other way of watering that down, right? That's something that you can water down. And in the sake of health and well-being and healing, I have consumed, drank stuff that is just god awful to even think about, right? So comparatively speaking, celery juice is like eating, it's like the dessert of the juice world, right? Whereas there's some juices that are really, really tough to swallow, right? So celery juice to me is like kids play especially compared to something like wood root tonic, which, my God, I don't even remember. I remember it was part of a cleanse. I believe it was a liver cleanse, but that was back in the late 80s or early 90s when I was beginning to learn all about all of this stuff. And, so it's enough about wood root tonic. But God, if anyone is watching this either live or in replay, if you've ever consumed wood root tonic, just share something in the chat there and let me know, because I'm sure there's probably somebody on this planet who actually thinks it's a good thing. It's foul at best. So so celery juicing cannot interfere with source energy medicine. And if you really think about it, if you watch Anthony William, the videos that Anthony William produced, and he has amazing content creators, like his content is amazing. He has a brilliant team. There's an entire book just on celery juice. And, you don't have to buy the book. He has enough free content on YouTube and on his website that's really all you need. But the essence of it is you drink 16 to 32 ounces of celery juice very, very, very first thing in the morning. So, and then nothing for 2 hours is ideal, right? And then, so if you think about source energy medicine, you're not drinking water in there, so you're not drinking source energy medicine in there. So source energy medicine can interfere with celery juice. And celery juice cleansing your liver is going to, I think in an ideal world, 60 to 90 days of source energy medicine and then do a celery juice cleanse would be absolutely ideal, right? Because then there'd be less to cleanse. And if you're totally if you're totally new to source energy medicine, it might be something to consider. But if you have a serious health concern, and here's like something that you have to be very, very sensitive with. Cleansing while you're seriously ill can be really risky. So there's no question about it. And yet, doing like a 28-day celery juice cleanse, or even better, doing Anthony the one of the cleanses that Anthony has in his book, one of his books, is called the 369 cleanse, and the 369 cleanse is just absolutely brilliant. And I think anyone who has a really serious health crisis doing a 369 cleanse, especially with someone who is like expert in that cleanse, right, as a professional to help to guide you. But there are millions of people who have done the 369 cleanse simply by following the direction really, really, really well outlined in his book. I believe it's the Healing with Whole Foods, or Foods That Heal. He has two that are essentially about healing with foods, and I can reference them in the show notes below. I don't benefit at all from you buying his book, so I'm not promoting Anthony William in terms of being a joint venture partner or anything. But I do, I'm a huge fan, absolutely huge fan, mostly because where the information comes from. And if you don't understand how it is that Anthony William came to be what he characterized in his books are published under medical medium, in his very first book, which is titled Medical Medium, and it has the cover is bluish and it has a chest x-ray on it. That's the most in-depth version of his story that I've ever read. And it is absolutely, it's very moving. It's very touching. It's very compelling. He was not praying to God to have a non-physical being start to speak to him when he was 4 years old to help people to heal themselves. And yet that's what happened. And he fought it. He tried to resist it. He tried to shut it off. It's a very, very compelling story. One of the things that I'm ultra sensitive to is, when I look at that, like what's the source of the fad? And if you really study Anthony Williams, especially if you just read his story, and if you read any in-depth chapters of his book, what you will learn is beyond what you will learn in any other book, right? It is absolutely eternal healing wisdom for the ages. It is a non-physical being who started educating him when he was 4 years old, identifies himself as the spirit of compassion, and it enables him to do things that there's no other human on this planet can do. He's literally in that level of all by himself, right? And it's not him. It's not the man. He's awesome, I think, in so many ways. And I admire his strength and his courage because talk about a burden to carry. He writes about this a bit in some of his books. Spirit of Compassion was very, very concerned that Anthony would kill himself because others have who were in the training process to do the work that Anthony has been doing magnificently for 25 plus years. It's kind of hard to put a timeline on it, but I'm not talking about from the time he was 4, but from the time he was in his young adulthood and he committed to helping people on their healing journey at least 25 years ago. So, a lot of the thing that really is unsettling to me is a lot of these videos on YouTube are people who don't bother researching the guy, and yet they say he's a sketchy resource. And I get that to a lot of people, having the spirit of compassion give them information is odd, right? How else could you put it? Unless you're used to communicating with angels, or you see angels, or you have a really deep, profound connection with your higher self. So I get to a lot of people, especially Main Street people or ultra conservative religious people, they would think, having the spirit of compassion speaking in his right ear, that's got to be the work of the devil. And yet, if you would take it one step further and actually take time and read, educate yourself about the information that he is sharing the root cause of dis-ease that the medical profession has no explanation for, like fibromyalgia, chronic fatigue, multiple sclerosis, Alzheimer's, dementia, so many things, even diabetes, so many health concerns that plague our global population, right? He shares information that you will not find if you go to medical school. You won't find in any medical textbooks. You won't find medical professionals talking about this unless they're a medical medium friendly healthcare provider, which there are. And I think there are a lot of functional medicine physicians who know about Anthony and his, really substantial body of work, and they have mastered um, his teachings, really, right? So, the only person that I ever heard of who comes even remotely close, and my harsh judgment comes nowhere close to what Anthony is doing, would be Edgar Cayce. And Edgar Cayce's life and what he contributed to humanity is monumental, right? There's no question about it. So I have the utmost respect for Anthony, there is absolutely so much. His books are just filled with gold and platinum and gemstones that you won't find anywhere. There's no question about it. Source energy medicine does not replace, well, first and foremost, it doesn't replace common sense, right? So, taking source energy medicine and drinking alcohol, and using source energy medicine to help to counter the negative effect of that, no, and yes, we do have a T20 is transformation alcohol, but it's really for those who are choosing sobriety and wanting to help to transform, balance, and restore the damage that alcohol creates, right? It destroys your body from the cells on up, right? Which means cells and in organs and functions and systems, right? Not just the liver, not just the brain, but everything. So, using source energy medicine or abusing source energy medicine to continue to eat poorly and not exercise and not clean up relationships and not be kind and gentle and gracious human being, like that's like, I think, the closest thing to sin as we can get. And by sin, I mean, sin is an archery term that means to miss the mark, right? It absolutely is missing the mark of source energy medicine. And, I've heard countless times that people who have tried to change their diet before source energy medicine unsuccessfully, sometimes for 20 or 30 or 40 or 50 years, once they start source energy medicine, and very specifically, what I now know is once they transform the subconscious mind, then they're finally able to make better choices with regards to food and exercise and lifestyle, right? Some people have been struggling with addiction or are finally able to stop, right? And finally able to start eating well, start loving themselves in that way. So I think it's a fascinating thing to think about. So yes, absolutely, source energy medicine in conjunction with eating, exercising, sleeping well. Sleep is so critical, right? And have been historically, even in these last few years, I'm always pushing. I'm always curious, like, how little sleep do I need and still be able to thrive? Like, where's no longer thriving? It always, like, can I get an extra hour out of this day? I'm a huge fan of Ogmandino, and one of Ogmandino's scrolls is, I'm going to live this day as if it's my last. And if it's my last, I really do want to use every single moment as it's like an undeserved bonus that I have been given, right? That God gave me these moments, these days. And if they are a gift from the divine, if they are a gift from the source of all creation, then I want to know how God wants me to use them, right? Not what I think I should do if this is my last day. And Og isn't talking about living like it's your last day and just like blowing all your money and having as much sex and drugs and alcohol consumption as you possibly can. That's not it at all. But if I don't put off till tomorrow what I can do today, that's where, like, those extra hours, either early in the morning, which I don't get up earlier than 5. 5 is like my sweet spot. And yet, I do really, 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 really well on about 6.5 hours sleep, a little less. And then I stop thriving unless it's just one night, right? 7 hours, and I am like so refreshed, so great. And yet my sleep is so good, and I require so little, in part because of source energy medicine, but it's also a huge part because I eat so well, right? And absolutely doing a 28-day celery juice cleanse a couple of times a year, I think is just absolutely a brilliant way to support you with your health and well-being, help to ensure, uh, you know, there's so much talk about longevity these days, and I'm only interested in longevity if I am, like totally, if I'm able to maintain a very high level of physical fitness, mental clarity, physical energy, passion, excitement. I have a long list of things that I would love to embark upon in this lifetime. Some documentary films that have been kind of on the back burner. Just a lot of things, right? I have a couple of books that I've written that are yet to be published. They're too, like they're ready, and I'm going to self-publish them. It's just it's just the time thing. So uh, less sleep, I think, would be great. And I don't know that if I've been at my ideal energy level long enough, if that will require less, right? And there's a lot of different things that I've tried, sleeping in spurts and stuff, but getting 7 hours sleep, getting up at 5 a.m. and having a very fixed routine, which these days, first thing is, 32 ounces of celery juice. So I hope that once and for all answers all of the questions about it. Anthony William has amazing resources that are available. Outside of buying his books, I've yet to see anything that he charges for. Just a beautiful soul, really committed and like passionately committed to helping us. So um, until you read his entire backstory, I strongly encourage you not to make harsh judgments about the source, right? And at least be open-minded enough to check it out. And since you're here, we're talking about taking water and structuring and charging the water molecules and turning it into something that would, that creates an energy medicine, a source energy medicine. You are really like the ideal people to learn about Anthony Williams' backstory and really appreciate the knowledge that he shares. It absolutely is eternal wisdom for the ages.